Hey, what's up? This is Brad with Be Real. Hey, today's topic of this amazing podcast is going to be on leadership. And I'll probably talk about it several times. It's one of my favorite subjects. I tell you, I was not a great leader. Through trial and error, I became a great leader. I was not a great salesperson. But I really loved leading and helping people. And I'll tell you why. I love seeing people develop. I love seeing people's lives get better. And you know what? Some of this thing's going to be my opinion. Take it as you want to. But if you don't like helping people, you're probably going to get discouraged in leadership or management. If you don't like rolling your sleeves up and trying to help people's lives get better and listen to some of the things that are going on in their lives and stuff, probably should stay in the area that you're in. Because I'm telling you, and I learned this at a very early age, the greatest managers and the greatest leaders are people that love people. And they are people that like helping people. And they're people that like help developing people. And, I printed off a couple of things. This is going to be a little bit different. This is Brad's traits of leadership. And, I printed off a couple of them, there several. If you Google top 10 characteristics and traits of leadership, it's going to say empathy, decision-making, communication, resilience, empowerment. I'm like, that's not really my idea of leadership. I mean, I got a 13-year-old and she's good at empathy. I got a 13-year-old and she's good at communication. So when you're talking about leader, you're talking about somebody that's actually wanting to help people and drive people and help people get to the next level. I feel like that's a completely different ballgame. And one of the biggest things in probably almost every podcast I'm going to talk about is relationships and how important relationships are. And that I was reading this book one night. You're probably going to hear this 50 times. I was reading this book one night. And I was just reading. I got to the end of this chapter. It says, the level of my happiness and the level of my success is totally contingent on the strength of my relationships. Boom. It hit me, man. And I was like, wow. Because my whole deal was I'm very fast. I'm very intense. So then if things would get off the rail, I would just go faster and become more intense, most of the time making it worse. But once I heard that, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, then if the level of my happiness and the level of my success is totally contingent on the strength of my relationships, then what I did was if something happened to get off the rails, I would slow down and figure out what person that I could make contact with, that I could strengthen that relationship and make that situation better. It also said the level of my happiness and the level of my success. To me, I believe in a higher power. So that means if I'm not happy, I'm not being successful, probably need to strengthen my relationship with the higher power. If my life's not going well in some certain areas, you know what? I need to slow down and strengthen the relationship with my wife, my kids, my friends. All of those things are totally contingent on my happiness. And when I was reading this book too, he said, you notice I said the level of my success and the level of my happiness. Success has nothing to do with happiness. Happiness is extremely high influence on success. So, and then part of that too is that if you're going to be a great leader, you want to make sure that your actions line up with your words. And there again, that was another thing I wasn't very great at in parenting. I wasn't very great at leadership, is that there were certain things that came out of my mouth, but my actions didn't match up with that. And I had to figure out real quickly that I read something one time that people only remember 10% of what you say, but they'll remember 85% of your actions the rest of their lives. And I was like, wow. Okay, so think about that now. We talk and talk and talk, and they're really only going to remember 10% of that. But your actions, they'll remember. So your actions are actually more important than your words are. And I went and saw a friend. I went and ate lunch with him. It's called Swift Recon out in Broken Arrow. I don't need to plug them. They're doing an amazing job. And I went in the meeting. We were going to go eat lunch, went and used the bathroom, come out, and I go, hey, man, wow, nice bathrooms. I kind of judge and grade people on their business and restaurants and that on how well they keep up their bathrooms. And he goes, oh, that bathroom ain't nothing. You ought to go see the employees' bathrooms. And I was like, okay, this is a cat that understands that, you can put all that stuff about your mission statements and all that stuff about what you believe on all these posters all over the break room and that. But if the employees don't see that, then take the posters down. Take the posters down. And I was like, so I was listening to him, and he said something. He wasn't like meaning to leave this message with me, but he said, oh yeah. He said, let me tell you something. He said, the customer experience should never be greater than the employee experience. And I was like, whoa. The customer experience, which is what all businesses seem to focus on. Anything customer facing. Oh, it's customer facing. It's got to get approved through 87 people. Oh, it's customer facing. The display area, the visual, the website, all that stuff. Oh, it's out. That's got to get approved by everybody. Oh, it's the customer, the employees are going to see it. Man, we'll just make some cardboard boxes and that'll be the break room. If you really turn that around and say, okay, I'm going to make sure that the employee experience is better, if not at least good as the customer experience, you're winning. And when I went out and talked to Swift Recon, you know what their percentage of retention is? 97% retention. And so if you want to hold on, and people have a tendency of going, well, turnover, considering the industry. No. Your turnover can be next to nothing if you'll treat your people correctly. And if you'll treat your people correctly, they'll stay. I used to, when I was little, I always had this irony of looking at things. And my mom, this is, early 60s, 70s, my mom would be like spanking us. I told you to quit hitting your brother. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, Mom. You're beating me, telling me not to hit my brother, And so, but you go into corporations, and they tell you, no, go be positive. And why are my frontline people, their morale's not good? You guys need to lighten up. You guys need to have more fun in the meetings. You guys need to be, more, let me tell you something. Happy people produce more. And but then every meeting you go to in the corporate offices, they're like, I told you that you need to have more fun in your meetings. I'm like, let me tell you something. Your frontline people are going to be exactly like the people are in upper management. And if you don't like the way your frontline people are, you should look at the way that you're treating the middle management and on down. I'm telling you, I promise you, the morale at the front line is going to be no better than the morale in middle management. Obviously, you guys can tell, I have a sense of humor, and there's a reason that I try to have a sense of humor. One reason, it helps me cope with the world. Two, the second reason is, I already mentioned, happy people produce more, and happy salespeople sell more. And so I figured that out real quickly. Yeah, there are times you have to get serious, and you should get serious. But, man, if you can do the majority of your day and have fun with it, the chances of people retaining more and producing more is just huge. Here's another thing. Focusing on your strengths. I got sucked into that. In fact, at one time I had this sign that only I could see in my office. Says, if you're reading this, you're losing money. And I was like, because that meant if I was sitting at my desk, then I wasn't interacting with people. And my strength is communicating with people. My strength is encouraging people. So make a list of what you're strong at. And do everything you can to stay on course to use those skills to the best of your ability as long as you possibly can. Because what will happen is the enemy will try to suck you into areas that you're not exactly strong in, or you're not exactly great in, and that you should be delegating those things to other people. So if you can stay in the sweet spot and focus on and work on the things that you're strongest on, then you're going to be there. Hey, let me tell you, if you don't like encouraging people in leadership, you need to kind of think about every person comes to work every day as an empty vessel. And if you think of it like that it is our responsibility to encourage people. One time I got really frustrated, or I was in a frustrated state, and, everything seemed to kind of irritate me. And, I thought for a second, I go, you know what, Brad? If they cared as much as you did, and they had as much experience as you did, and they were as smart as you were in certain areas, then what the heck would they need you for? That's actually your job, is to encourage people. I had this guy one night I was talking to that was going through some stuff, and he said, man, I wish I listened to my mom. And basically what he said is he wished he hadn't held onto the boulder to the bottom of the lake. Here's where I'm going with this deal. Adapting and adjusting is huge. If you're a manager and you're a leader and whatever you're doing is not producing fruit, guess what? Stop doing it. I don't care how long you've been doing it. I don't care what you're doing. If it's not producing fruit, then stop doing it. And as far as being real with people and being honest with people, one of the greatest tools I did when I was a manager is I would get this round table. And I'd tell everybody, get in a circle. All right, now everybody tell me what I'm doing that's not very good, that I should change, that would help you produce more. Now think about that for a second. You're going to sit down in front of your peers and ask them basically to critique you. And that's a 360 evaluation is what it's called. It takes nerves of steel, but let me tell you something. I got a lot out of that. And let me just be real with you. The people already know it. They already know where you're weak. So why would you not want them to share it with you? Or if there's certain things that you're doing that are keeping them from producing at the highest level, then why would you not just drop that out of your cards? So focus on talking and communicating. And like I said, if it ain't producing fruit, then stop doing it. Another thing, just like encouraging, is motivation. I talked to this friend of mine. She goes, you're not really a motivational speaker. You're just a speaker. And I understand that. But really and truthfully, I personally am a motivator. And I feel it's important to motivate. I feel like a lot of people have a tendency of gravitating towards like mediocrity, not being negative. That people have a tendency. So what our job is as leaders is to get them off high center of mediocrity and get them moving towards higher levels of production, higher levels of efficiencies. And a lot of times all it takes is a couple of encouraging things. A lot of times it just, a lot of it comes down to just the human part of the deal too. Like remembering what their production was for last month, walking up to them and go, hey, you had a huge week last week. And they're like, oh my gosh. He knew it. So you don't have to be the charismatic, bubbly, loud person like I am, but all it takes is a human connection. And all it takes is for them to realize that you care about them, and you care about their future and you care about what they're doing. This is not an easy part, is because we all have a tendency of being fearful, and fear is just part of us and what we battle. But as a leader, there's no real room for fear. And the reason I say that is because your mind is going to be consumed by one thing or another. And if it is leaning towards fear, which is a hypothetical situation that is not more than likely not going to occur. For me, I'm telling you, 99%, it ain't 90% of things I worry about never come to pass. It's about 99.9%. And so if you're stuck in the rut of fear or as a leader, then that means all those other people they're falling behind also. So as a leader, have no fear, man. And think about it too, it takes more energy because you have to keep perpetuating the thoughts of fear as it does to envision and imagine great things happening. And you know what? There's very few things that I've seen or people I've seen in life that make this huge leap and bound into success. It's just a bunch of little steps. and you're not promised to see the all the steps. You're all you're promised to see is the next step. And that if you'll stay focused on the next step, stay focused on the next path, then those things will appear, and you'll start to move in that direction. Here's a big one. So there's 10 things here that we're talking about today. But the biggest one is faith. And it is faith in yourself, faith in other people, faith in that, you know what, you're going to get there, faith in the fact that there's people around you. That's why I was said the very first thing is relationships is so important, because it helps you to be faithful when you have great people that you've surrounded yourself by. You're very seldom are you in this deal by yourself. Very seldom or do you have to go this deal alone. The last but not least is resilience. Man, that's a big deal, because resilience and never quitting. Here's why. Work really doesn't even happen until it gets to the hard part. I think about if you're actually on the job and everything's going great and you're having fun and everybody's having fun, then in my opinion, that's not even really work. Work comes when stuff starts going south. Work comes when things start getting difficult. Work comes when you're in a situation where you have to have an uncomfortable conversation with people. And let me tell you something. Here's one way I used to do it is I would pull people in to have one-on-one conversations. And here's what's going to happen. At some point in time, you and I are going to have an uncomfortable conversation. And so it's either going to be at the end of your career when we have to shake hands and you're no longer here, or you and I can have an uncomfortable situation right now that will help you to move forward and do the things that we need you to do. Either you don't understand what I'm asking you, don't understand the job, but let's just have a conversation about this and let's just together get there. But that's faith in the people that are around you, and faith that you're going to get there and that people are going to help you to get there. But if those things, faith and resilience and never quitting, like I said earlier, you're never going to see the whole staircase. So if you're waiting to see the whole staircase before you start to climb, you're going to be stuck where you're at. But you know where the next step is. So just take the next step. And like my buddies say, well, what do I do next? Just do the next right thing. Okay, that's cool, Brad. Well, then what do I do? Just do the next right thing. And as you move forward, these steps will start to appear to you. So let me recap this thing. Relationships. Relationships are probably one of the most important things to success. Actions. Make sure your actions. People aren't going to remember what you say anyway. People are going to remember your actions. 85% of your actions risk your life. Have a sense of humor. It helps everybody around you, but also it makes you, if happy people sell more, then happy leaders produce more. Focus on your strength. Don't get sucked into a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. Don't get stuck into stuff that you're not good at. Delegate that stuff to other people. Move on. Encourage others. Adapt and adjust. If you're doing business like you were for the past 90 days, the way things are changing so quickly now, you're probably becoming antiquated. No fear. I know it sounds easy, but you have a choice. You're going to focus on one thing or other. You're going to focus on the path to success, or you're going to focus on the path to fear. Choose to look at the path of success. Faith, believe, resilience. Look, here's the deal. I came from a state of homelessness. I ended up as the GM of sales, national sales managers. And so if I can make it, anybody can make it. But it takes all these things I'm telling you. There's not one of these things that you can kind of leave away and that you can leave off the list and get to. Now, let me back up. You can leave a couple of these off if you want to. That's totally up to you. I just feel like if you want to get to where you're going to get to, you're going to have to pick up some other tools. And I hope some of these tools that I've shared with you help you. And I hope they help you on your journey to further success. Go have a great day. Be real.